Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to my library tour here of my little book room for 2025. Not my whole library, certainly not all the digital books. I'm not even thinking about touring those. I don't know how I would. And not all the physical books either, because I'm not doing the rest of Hyde Cottage. I'm just doing this room. We are on the Next Joe bookcase. It is lodged into the corner of the room here. It took years for me to realize that the most efficient use of bookcases is to do them catty corner, do them diagonally to cut off the corners. Yes, you're going to be losing the corner. You're going to be losing the little tip of the triangle there. But it's going to be a lot less annoying to do that than it is to lose 1/8 of the whole bookcase because it's wedged in behind another bookcase. This rounds off the room. And also, I had the advantage with this room of encountering it empty, completely empty. And the bookcase is all completely empty. So I was able to take all of my carefully constructed tall, thin bookcases and put them along this wall in exactly that kind of mostly straight line and basically interlock them together. They are wedged together so that this cannot move. None of these things can move. They can, the ones along this wall cannot fall over. So let's go to the top shelf here. What is we want to make sure things don't fall. What is the first one here? Oh, okay. This is Isabel Anderson, Lars Anderson's wife. This is Presidents and Pies, her memoir of life in the old Washington, D.C., in the Washington, D.C. of a bygone era of gigantic glittering parties and carefree Southern living, antic Southern living, and also all-powerful social matrons. Isabel Anderson was one of those social matrons, and she knew all the others. There have been many Washington matron memoirs like this. This one's one of my favorites, not only because it's genuinely funny at times, but also because it's a memoir of a Washington matron who was in power when Taft came to power. So it's really kind of vital when it comes to a first-hand source for what people thought about the outside of that administration. I love it. I love her husband did a memoir as well. I love both of them. Then we have James Michael Curley. This is I'd Do It Again. This is his memoir of his time as a thoroughly corrupt and yet thoroughly beloved Boston politician. This is the nonfiction grounding, the nonfiction equivalent of Edwin O'Connor's book, The Last Hurrah. And I don't know which is more enjoyable to read. This thing's out of print. The Last Hurrah is not. But this thing is, in terms of political memoirs, there's nothing else like it. There's just nothing else like it. Let's see here. This is starting to bother me, the way these things are flopping all around. I'm hoping that changes as we go on. This is an illustrated Dracula. Illustrations are by Jay Lee, the comic book artist, so they are highly stylized. Most of them are highly stylized. He's a bit of an acquired taste, Jay Lee is. I learned that the hard way on the Submariners comic book. But I ended up liking him. I do not need all the copies of Dracula that are in this room. I do not need that many, but I have them, and I really like this one, so I kept it. Then we have... Okay, great. This is a nonfiction work about murder mysteries. The Mystery Story, where a whole bunch of mystery authors and authorities and whatnot, researchers get together to talk about mystery stories. So it's an endless well for recommendations, but it's also really good at... I love thinking about murder mysteries. I love thinking about what they are, why they're so satisfying, what makes a good one, and what doesn't. And that book is just... all the books in this room, I go back to them. So then we have... This is edited by Frank Kermode and Anita Kermode. This is the Oxford Book of Letters. This is from the old Oxford series, the Oxford Book of, regardless of what it was. We've seen the Oxford Book of English of essays. There is a big Oxford Book of English prose that I don't have. I wish I had. And there's all sorts of others. Oh my God, they must have had 40 of these things. And this one is about letters. That is what the cover there is showing you. That woman is licking an envelope. Those of you who were born in the 21st century that is going to seem very bizarre to you. You got a box of envelopes. and they had a little coating of adhesive on the edge that you were going to seal. You would wet that adhesive. You don't have to lick it, but that's the most common thing. You would lick that adhesive, seal your letter inside the envelope, and then put the envelope in the nearest mailbox. You would put it in a big metal mailbox. And sooner or later, someone would come along and collect all of those letters, put them in a bag, and bring them to the nearest processing center. And they would then be launched on their journey to their recipient, wherever that recipient was. So you would have a letter writing station. This is a table I had at my desk, and I had my correspondence. I did correspondence. Of course, you did. I did correspondence daily. I had a big correspondence. If any of you would ever compare notes about my emailing, that would not surprise you. I do a lot of emailing. I had a regular correspondence on my desk, and I had it worked out to a science, which I don't usually do in the rest of my life. The rest of my life is not worked out to a science, but correspondence was so important, because without correspondence, that was it. You had the telephone plugged into the wall, but other than that, you had no contact with the outside world. So I took it seriously, and I had always a stack of blank envelopes ready. I had a pile of, actually 2 separate slots of paper. One was better bonded paper, stuff that I would use for business correspondence, and the other was foolscap, actual foolscap, which I bought by the bale here in Boston from a stationery store that's long gone, which is incredibly thin. It's incredibly flimsy, but it allows you to put, if you're typing a letter on one side of foolscap, well, you can get 10 pages of that letter into an envelope without needing another stamp. It's so lightweight that you can, if you smash it, if you cram it in single space typing, you can get a lot in those letters. And I typed a lot of my letters, even the personal ones. A lot of them I did. I handwrote a lot, but I typed a lot of them too. And I would do that first thing to start the day. In fact, that instinct still holds true. I still tend to do correspondence first thing in the day, even though that makes no sense in the world of email. I don't deal with correspondence. I don't deal with emails overnight. So in the morning, I allot a block of time to just do the overnight emails, and also any emails from the day before, and any emails prophylactically for the coming day that I know of. I still do that first thing in the morning, and that doesn't make any sense. But once upon a time, oh my, I lived by my letters. I kept a log of what was going out and what was expected and when. And of course, my personal correspondence, the closest thing that you 21st century denizens will know now to what I felt then about snail mail correspondence of a personal nature, is when you text somebody and you're eagerly waiting for them to text back. Your text program shows you that they've seen it, but they aren't responding. And maybe you feel all caught up about that and anxious about that. Well, that's what it felt, only times 10 with snail mail letters, because it was not only their willingness to buckle down and write a response, it was then how long would it take them to write the response, and then how long would it take to get to you. And a lot of the magic is actually included in this book. You can't help but not. When you're writing letters, you can't help but not. Whether you're starting at the earliest part of this book, where the correspondents are not only worried about that magic, but also worried about simply the way they're going to get it to the recipient. That's a frequent occurrence in letters of, say, the Reformation period on, is I not only have the means and the time to write you a response, but also I have a trusted messenger who will get this to you, because there wasn't anything like a universal delivery system at all. So it's fascinating. I love reading collections of letters for that reason. Then we have Annie Dillard. This is an absolute classic, Pilgrim at Tinker Creek. This really shot her to stardom and established her entire career. This is natural history wanderings and meanderings, beautifully, beautifully done. Just beautifully written. Deserves to be a classic. Then we have Susan Orlean. This is her book, The Library Book, an orange naked hardcover here, which on one level is about an arson, a famous case of arson at a famous library. This has tons of stuff in it. It is tons and tons of stuff in it. But on another level, on the more important level here, this is just about how wonderful libraries are. And there are a lot of books like that in this room, even though I don't at the moment use a library at all. Even though that's true, there's still a lot of stuff in here about how wonderful they are. And that's a wonderful part of this book. She's a terrific writer. I often mention on this channel that I don't currently use a library. I've even gone so far as to mention that I'm not 100% sure that my library card is still active. Since I took it out in 1930, it might not still be active. And I mentioned that part of the reason is that the library's not on my route. Much as I love the Boston Public Library, it's not on my route. I don't really have much of a route. It's not a part of an active errand circuit that I do. And on this channel, I have toyed with the idea of creating a routine so that the library would be in it. Maybe it would be at the centerpiece of it, so that I could go back to using the place and enjoying it, because I love the Boston Public. I love libraries just in general. And when I've mentioned that, a lot of you have pointed out that I don't ever need, if I actually do have an active library card, I don't ever need to darken the doorstep of a library. I can do it all electronically. That's something to think about, definitely. But anyway, this next thing is a murder mystery anthology. Probably my favorite murder mystery anthology. This is English Country House Murders. Who's this edited by? Thomas Godfrey. And this is just a selection of murder mystery short stories that take place in English country houses. I'm surprised that we haven't come across a book on English country. Oh, we did. We came across one. This one here. We came across a book on the English Country House Guide. I love reading about English country houses and also reading fiction set in them, because I've been to so many of them. I've stayed in so many of them overnight or for a weekend, and these stories are just writers having so much fun. The English country house it's a natural setting for murder mysteries, because you've got a quirky cast of characters. They're all assembled. They're not infinite. No one's coming and going. If you add to the English country house a snowstorm that cuts it off from law enforcement and from the rest of town, as writers often do, well, then you've got the perfect setting. Plus, it's got all sorts of picturesque nooks and crannies and lots of hired help. The staff provides you with a ready body of potential suspects. This next one is an older book. This is from it's an older book, and it studies something even older than that. This is from 1947, and it looks at a generation or more before. This is Carriages at 11, and it's a wonderful old book about the old theater world. So not the world of 1947, although the world of 1947 had a vibrant theater world in New York and Washington and even Boston. This is about the earlier times, and it's wonderful, full of anecdotes. I just love this book so much. So odd. Then we have something that you would not expect would be in this room, but I calls them like I sees them. If I read a book that simply will not leave me alone, well, then it comes in this room. And this book this is by Martin Ewing, and it's called Once Upon an Algorithm. And it in this, the author, without condescension, you would think from the conceit here that the book is condescending, but there's no condescension in this book. Without condescension, the author uses children's stories to illustrate what algorithms are. What are they? How do they work? How can you understand them? And considering how much of the modern world they rule, that's an important subject. And of course, I'm hopeless at that sort of thing. But I love this book. I loved it, and also I grappled with it. And I imagine I will continue to grapple with it. This next one is by Edwin Wayteal. I've mentioned him many, many times on this channel. I absolutely love him. He was a nature writer from the middle of the 20th century, and he did a lot. He wrote a lot of books. We've seen a couple of them already on this library tour. But probably the thing that was the most popular that he did was 4 books that he did where he looked at what were the 4 old seasons, the seasons of the year. So a walk in summer, a walk in winter, a walk in spring, and a walk in autumn. And he would get in a car and he would travel through parts of the United States in that season to see what it was like and write about it. And those 4 books, what I wouldn't give to find a set of those 4 books with dust jackets, that would be wonderful. I had a chance to do that very thing once upon a time, and I hemmed and hawed over dollars and coins. Ridiculous. Now, if I could go back, I would say, spend all the money in your pocket, buy that, you're going to want it for the rest of your life. But I didn't, and the next time I went, it wasn't there. Those books are anachronistic now, not necessarily for the evocative nature writing, as we've seen in this library tour. Evocative nature writing goes on, thank God. But in terms of the four seasons, which don't exist anymore. So, I mean, they're like I say with all the rest of this stuff, you 21st century people, you people born in the 21st century, that's going to look stranger and stranger to you. And your children are going to find it completely unrecognizable, just completely unrecognizable. That there were four seasons, that there were in fact two seasons, autumn and spring, where the weather was temperate for long periods of time. Day after day after day after day, the weather was temperate. That already feels weird. And that is only going to get weirder and weirder. So, but it's okay, because members in the most powerful deliberative body in the history of the world, to illustrate their understanding of the subject, sometimes bring snowballs into the well of the House of Representatives. So that's good. The people who can write the legislation that could in any way do anything about this certainly take it seriously and understand it. That's good. But Edwin Waiteel, he wrote those four books, but then there was an abridgment made, A Walk Through the Year. And this was the Library of Nature Classics that had this. They all had this little emblem on them. I really wish I had more of them. I never see them anymore. They did one for Thoreau that's really good, and I'd never seen it. I think I did it once out in the wild. This is an abridgment of those four books, and terrific for that reason. But the main reason that I got this book and kept it is because of its previous owner, who went through the book just having a ball. I mean, he was very careful with his underlining. He's not brainlessly highlighting things. But when he thinks that Edwin Waiteel is right, well, then he will append a hearty "and how?" And when he thinks he's wrong, he'll call him a dumbass. And I just love that so much. I fell in love. I mean, I already loved the books, but I fell in love with the previous owner so much that I wanted to keep this volume, even though it's a fairly flimsy trade paperback. And then finally, to wrap this up, we have Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, who I think we've already seen for the Song of Hiawatha. I think we already saw that in an old illustrated edition. And this is another old illustrated edition. This is The Courtship of Miles Standish. And once again, as with the Song of Hiawatha, all the characters have stepped out of a 1920s clothing catalog, a Sears Roebuck clothing catalog. The chaste young women in the poem are all Gibson girls. But I don't, or do any of you recognize that 1920s silent film actress? Anybody? That's just what it is. The pictures are all anachronistic, but it's a one standalone volume for this terrific poem. This poem is so much fun to read out loud, and I want a nice ornate illustrated edition for that. So there you go. That is the top shelf here of this bookcase. So we will move on to the next shelf next time. I will see you then. Thank you, BookTube.